The internet, I mentioned the internet is a network of networks. There are many internets, but there is one famous one. This is the worldwide one. The technology behind is every time the same. There are different computer networks which are interconnected, and by means of the internet technology, by means of the internet protocols, these interconnected different networks form a virtual network, uniform virtual networks. The technology that the interconnected networks behave like a uniform network is called internetworking. And this is the task of the internet protocols, the communication protocols of the software, to provide against the user the impression that this interconnected different networks with different technologies form one uniform network. I mentioned already the software which makes it possible is called communication protocols. And the communication protocols have to regulate a lot. They have to regulate how data may be exchanged. Data exchange in one network, it's clear, each computer has an address. But when I interconnect two different networks, then it's possible that different computers in different networks have same address. So one needs an extra addressing, and one needs extra mechanisms to make it possible to provide the illusion of a uniform networks over the interconnection of maybe incompatible networks. So the communication protocols have to regulate how data exchange is possible beyond the borders of individual physical networks. That internet has such a huge development depends also from a characteristic that internet is an open system architecture. There is no company selling internet. The internet community has a process to design such an architecture by means of requests for comments, so that everyone who wants to design something, application for example for the internet, exactly knows what is the technology behind, and so he is able to add new developments. There is this impressive explosive growth within 40 years. Internet starts in 1969 with 4 computers, and today there are more than 20 billion indexed pages only by the Google search machine alone. There are more than 1 billion computers in use that are interconnected to the internet. And then there are almost 3 billion internet users meanwhile. So this is a view of an example of such an internet. So we have different local networks. For example, this is a local network. Or here we have a local network. And the different local networks are interconnected. The technology may be different, how to interconnect them. But if all these networks, the host, computers are called hosts, it may also be smart devices or others. If all these devices are able to speak internet, if all are installed the TCP/IP communication protocols, then it is possible that all these interconnected networks behave like a uniform network. Here it's more far away. We have the so-called internet service provider, and here are the local networks. For example, in your home or in your company, there are local computer networks, and they need to be connected to an internet service providers. The internet service provider are connected to each other, and so one can send at the end a message from a computer in this local network through this internet provider over this internet provider to this computer which belongs to a completely different other network. So internet is a network of networks. The internet service provider, they help to interconnect these different local networks. And this is a global view. The global view on the internet. First here, look to the internet infrastructure of Germany. There is one ENIX, one point where, which is responsible for all the traffic in the .de domain. And if we look worldwide, then we see the different continents. We see the backbone internet connections, which make it possible that a local network in this place maybe interact with computers of a local network in that place. What are the basic components of computer network? There are mainly three such components. The first is the computer or the smartphone or the tablet or the laptop itself. This is a basic component, often called a node. When I speak in future from computer, please every time use this as a chiffre, also for smartphone, tablet, and other devices. Beside of the nodes, of the computer and the smart devices, we need infrastructure components. Infrastructure components for linking and coupling the computer. This may be a copper line, this may be radio signals, so infrastructure component. And as a third component, we need to connect the nodes, the computers, the smartphones, the devices, with the infrastructure component. So, and this is done by a physical connection to the computer, by cabling, by wireless connection, or others. So these are the three basic components of a network. When we have a look to a network, in a network where computers are communicating to each other, we can see that the computers act in different roles. We can distinguish between so-called servers and so-called clients. The servers, they offer resources. They offer materials, information. They offer any other resources to other computers in the network. And the client, this is a computer that uses such services. Of course, in a network, a computer in some communication may play the role of a server. In another communication, it may play the role of a client. So this is not a fixed division. It is a communication model to make the understanding of such technical communications more easy. To say there are two actors, there is a server providing resourcing, waiting for requests, and there are clients which requesting the services. The principle, this communication model, this communication paradigm is called the client-server paradigm. And the client-server paradigm, that is basic communication model in the internet. Here the client takes the initiative and requests services which are offered by the server, and the client, of course, may contact different servers, may request from different servers different resources, and vice versa, the servers can serve to different clients. But before the server can fulfill the client's request, it must verify whether the client is authenticized, is authorized to use the desired service. So here is the interaction model. The server is waiting for requests, the server offers resources, and clients may be requesting such a server. Then if the server receives such a request, server checks whether the client is authorized to receive the resource, and then he sends the resource, or he gives a failure message that client is not authorized to do. to connect computers with networks and to allow computers to send information over the network, network adapters are needed. Network adapters, this provides a connection between the computer and the transmission medium. In a computer, you know, the information are available in form of bits and bytes. But in a cable, electrical signals are sent, or in a radio network, radio signals are sent, or in an optical fiber, optical signals are sent. So what's needed to translate the bits, bytes of the information of the computer, which need to be exchanged with another computer, to translate them in a right way, in a format, and put them into a physical form that may be communicated over the infrastructure moment. There are different intermediate systems needed to transport data over greater distance. These intermediate systems often are complete computers with the only goal to care about transmission, forwarding data. So these intermediate systems are installed in a network node, so in a computer there, and they carry out a relay or amplification functionality so that the signals are received, are transformed into another format for the next network to be transported, where the data, which the data have to transport, and other things. So these intermediate systems are needed to provide this internet functionality for interconnected networks, because the interconnected networks do not speak a common language. They are incompatible. And so by means of the intermediate systems, one can provide the possibility that this data can be transported also over networks which request another format or other type of signal. When we discuss about the basic components of networks, then computer and intermediate systems must be physically interconnected, because communication is done in form of physical signals. So these physical signals, they need a carrier medium, for example, a cable, a copper cable, or a fiber optic cable. But it could also be radio waves, or infrared, or other. The physical transmission is done over this carrier media in form of physical signals, and there we have a problem. The physical signals, they are never error-free. There are different errors for data sent over a cable or data sent over radio waves, but when we want to organize communication between computers, we need to clarify and we need to provide all the mechanisms to repair these errors occurring during the physical transportation of the data. So mechanisms are needed for error detection and are needed for error correction.